But you feel you've done better than the rebuilding of the World Trade Center, right?
Well, yeah, I think it hasn't been quite as, yeah,
right.
that's just been so complicated. And I know the woman who heads up that Memorial Museum project worked here at the Holocaust Museum for a number of years, and she's really good. And I think they're making progress, but they're also looking at an enormous cost.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to manage the cost of that and try to get it to a more feasible range.
Given your love of architecture and history, what has it meant to you to be on this commission, this Flight 93 commission?
Well, I feel that what I can contribute is trying to figure out what story we're going to tell in the interpretive center or the visitor center, which will be a small, not a museum so much, but a place.
Are you going to play a cockpit tape in there?
I don't know that we will. We haven't made any of that decision, but it's not a simple story because there's a lot that we won't know about that flight. And I've taken the position that I'd prefer that we not try to improve on the story, because there are many people who have given political motives to the passengers and crew and religious motives, and it's complicated. And I think there are just some things we won't know. One of the things that has impressed me most about what we do know is the fact that one of the cell phone conversations from one of the passengers said, "We're taking a vote." Even in those 20 minutes of just complete chaos. And the fact that I think that was a very American thing to do, that tradition of let's try to see what we should do, we're taking a vote, you know, to me was a very powerful idea, that they organized a small government just in 20 minutes. What the vote actually was, we don't know, but they acted in that very extreme situation.
What else seems very American to me is that I believe in the markers of the dead, there are going to be markers for the terrorists too.
We haven't. That hasn't been decided, and I think that
had been on the table, hadn't it?
I don't know, because I think that's another issue, and I know in New York they're having a real discussion, and I don't know in Washington if anybody's been to the Pentagon Memorial, if the names of the hijackers are mentioned anywhere. Has anybody? I don't know if they have, but you know, if you go to Ford's Theater, you know who John Wilkes Booth is. You know, you know who.
You can't. Lee Harvey Oswald.
Right. If you go to the school books, so I think there has to be some way to say who these people were without glamorizing them, without giving them. You know, I think John Wilkes Booth has been glamorized far more in history than we would think an assassin should be, but that's, you know, maybe over the passage of time. I can't see the same thing happening with the 9/11 hijackers.
What are you doing about 9/11 at your museum?
Well, we a year after in September 2002, we opened an exhibit called Bearing Witness to History, 9/11, which was an exhibit about how people experienced that day. It wasn't so much about motivations or consequences, but just the experience of 9/11. And that exhibit traveled around the country. And then we incorporated some of the collections into our military history exhibit, which is called Price of Freedom, Americans at War.
But aren't you the logical place for a permanent exhibition about 9/11?
Well, I think, in Washington, I don't know. I think the Pentagon, certainly, it may be a question of access with the Pentagon, but we will, I think that clearly was a turning point in American history, and we want to do an overview exhibit that looks at turning points in American history, so that would be one of them. I don't know about having a permanent gallery on any one subject, because there are many important events in American history. That's one of them.
Right.
That we want to commemorate.
You are the nation's chief, possibly only history museum?
Yes, yes. And the most popular,
right.
In spite of all of our challenge.
What don't you have that you'd like to have?
Wow, we do have
chance.
Yeah. Well, we're always looking at contemporary history, recent history, and to make sure that we're not missing anything that people in the future will want to to know about. So we started collecting hip-hop music related collections, costumes.
Did you get Janet Jackson's?
No,
That's not quite hip-hop.
no,
is it?
right.
Okay.
No. But I mean, we try to think about what it is about the future that people want to know about our own times.
Yeah.
And so we have a collections
What do you
plan.
have from hip-hop?
We have a turntable, for example, that was one of the, from the 1970s, that was one of the pieces of equipment that I think was Grandmaster Flash, and now I'm really out of my element
That's
here.
okay.
So just, but we
all
have some
stumble along.
costumes, we have some posters from early concerts. We're really focusing on the social history of hip-hop in the 1970s and the origins of what became a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah. And what else? What else is out there of a contemporary nature that you'd like to?
Well, we're interested in the veterans and the people who are now serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, and some of the items that reflect their experience. And we have started collecting some uniforms and some.
Do you just like send a flyer out to soldiers everywhere? Let us know.
No, it's more of a network of just who we know, who or maybe someone has a cousin or who's serving, or we have a pretty extensive network around the. We like to collect contemporary technology. We have a very strong information technology.
Back to those BlackBerries.
Yeah, exactly, and computers and. Yeah.
I guess I just have to wait.
Well, wait. We don't want to announce it without the person's permission. So.
Are you in there for the long haul, or now that you've got this museum done, are you thinking of what's next for you?
I'm here.
You're here?
Yeah, because we have at least 3 more major phases of development, and our 50th anniversary is 2014 for the museum.
Well, by then maybe we'll be out of the hall and you can plan another big party.
Yes, and then I'll come back here for another.
Congress will be giving you wheelbarrows of money, and everything will be good.
Yeah.
Well, our time is up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. Everybody get down to the
Thank you.
Museum of American History, and we'll see you on your 50th anniversary.
Good.
Thank you, Brent. Thank
Right.
you, everyone.
Right.